Shalom, my name is Dr. Walter Oakley. Welcome to A Taste of Hebrew. Well, here we are again working our way through another passage, right? We actually moved into Pasuk Yod today, passage 10. And so today, actually, it won't take a whole lot of work for us to actually work our way through this passage. 2 words, I think, is all we have to do through the program to master this. So that being the case, let's go ahead and jump right into Pasuk Yod, passage number 10 of Perkei Aleph, or we can say Perkei Rishon. Rishon, from that very first word we learned, which is what? Reshit. So Rishon can be the first or the primary chapter of the biblical text, which it is. And so let's go to Perkei Rishon, which is Perkei Aleph, and let's go to Pasuk Yod, passage 10, and let's pick up there and let's try to see what our phrase and word for today is.
Here's the passage in Hebrew, which is Pasuk Yod. We can see the Yod here, and you should be able to recognize this. What? Pasuk Yod is the 10th passage. So we've come all the way to passage number 10. Now, actually, this passage is very simple with regards to so much of what we've already learned, because really we actually know all of this this passage except for possibly one word, which we'll deal with right now. We'll deal today. So let's just read our way through this, and then let's try to work on the review that's requisite for us to understand all that this really means. Vayikra, and you should understand this, right? Va, here the vav at the beginning being what? And. Yikra, he called. And who called? Here we have Elohim is the one who's calling or speaking. And so when we have Vayikra, and he said, or and he called. And then here we have La Yabasha. Last week's word was Yabesh, right? And here is the same exact word. We have the Lamed in the front of the Yabasha, and it's making a preposition and it's telling actually to. So we have the prefix to the Yabasha, Eretz, he says. So we have and God called to, literally, the Yabasha Eretz. So God called the dry land that we have here to the dry land, or literally to translate it into English, he calls the dry land Eretz. And obviously, you know Eretz. We talked about briefly last week, one thing that you should understand and know is that when we look at the text and we look for some definition, what we have here is a place where the text actually gives us a definition of what Eretz is. Before we studied Eretz and we looked at Eretz, but we didn't know all of what Eretz was. Now, we're given a biblical definition of what Eretz is. Eretz means what? Dry land. And so God called the dry land earth. And Ul, meek, let's sound it out. Ul, all one syllable here. Meek ve is what? From the mikvah, right, or the gathering together, the collection of waters, which we discussed a couple of weeks ago with our idea of yikavu, right? So this is the root here, mikvah, and mikveh. So we have the idea here that it is brought together. This is and the collection of ha, mayim, you know what that is. Kara, this is the same as here. He called Yamim. Okay, so here we have our word for today, and our word for today is Yamim, and what it means in simple terms is seas. So what we have with seas is actually a collection of waters or a gathering together of waters, the waters, and he calls those seas. Looking further into this particular this passage, one of the things that we're going to gather out of this is a mechanism that the Bible uses and is using at the present. And the present verse really works well to help us begin to learn a principle in scriptural interpretation, and not only scriptural interpretation but word interpretation. As we're looking at the words that we read here, what we'll see in these particular words is actually the definition of particular words comes out right in the translation, not just a translation but literally in the text. Okay, and this is Vayikra Elohim la Yabishah Eretz. Okay, so Vayikra, and God called the Yabashah Eretz. So this gives us a definition of the word Eretz. So regardless of lexical data, information, or otherwise, what you have is the scripture telling you here that Eretz is in fact the dry land. So that's important for today, because now if we'll look at today's phrase is Ul mikveh hamayim kara yamim. Now we're going to concentrate on this word yamim in a few minutes, but what you need to see here is that actually the verse, this phrase, is giving us a definition of the word, and what it's telling us is that the gathering together or the collection of the waters is called here kara yamim. So regardless of lexical information and data, what you will understand is what are yamim, and of course this is plural and we'll deal with this in a minute, but what are yamim? Yamim are a collection of waters. And so here we have the perfect illustration for the way that what Scripture will do is it will give definitions of words itself. So you don't have to look a lot of times at particular lexical information, because it gives you like a midrash or an interpretive process all in the text all by itself. So ul mikveh, and the gathering, here's our word, or definite article the, which should be read into the sentence, and it says and the gathering together or the collection of waters is called yamim. Set aside all your lexical information for the moment and just concentrate on that idea. The collection is yamim. That's what yamim is.